The scent of lilies had always reminded Genevieve Hartwell of death. 18 months ago, they had crowned her mother's coffin in white abundance, their sickly sweet perfume masking the sharper smell underneath the one nobody spoke about. The scent of poison, of purple veins spreading like dark rivers beneath pale skin, of black blood that should have been red. Now standing at the altar of Somerset Chapel, Genevieve understood why the same flowers decorated every surface. Lord Matthias Grimshaw was a man who appreciated patterns. The wedding gown suffocated her. 20 yards of imported Belgian lace seed pearls sewn by hand, a corset laced so tightly she could barely draw breath. Her ribs ached, her vision swam. But it was the weight on her finger that truly crushed her, the cold press of the engagement ring Matthias had forced onto her hand 3 months ago, when her mother's body was barely cold in the ground. She had been 21 then, alone, grieving. He had smiled at the funeral, she remembered. Actually smiled. Dearly beloved, the priest began, his voice echoing off the vaulted stone ceiling. 200 guests filled the pews, nobles from 5 counties, merchants, magistrates, all of them complicit in their silence because everyone knew what Matthias Grimshaw was, and everyone was too afraid to say it aloud. Genevieve's hands trembled. She clasped them together, squeezing until her knuckles went white. The bruises on her left wrist were still fresh, 5 dark fingerprints, where Matthias had grabbed her 2 days ago when she had suggested postponing the ceremony. Just a few more weeks, she had whispered, to properly mourn. His grip had tightened until she gasped. We marry on schedule, he had said. Or your tenant families burn. He had meant it. Matthias always meant his threats. She could see them now through the chapel's tall windows, the cottages that dotted the Hartwell estate. 40 families. 200 souls who had worked her family's land for generations. Yesterday, Matthias's men had positioned themselves around the tenant village, torches in hand, waiting for a signal that would never come if she simply obeyed. The priest droned on. Genevieve felt Matthias's presence beside her like a cold shadow. He stood 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered, handsome in the way that marble statues were handsome, beautiful, and utterly lifeless. His hand rested on her lower back, possessive, his fingers splayed across the lace as if he already owned her. He did own her legally. The marriage contract had been signed weeks ago by her late father's solicitor, a man who had taken Matthias's gold and looked the other way. Everything was arranged, the estate, the dowry, the Cornwall Caverns deed that her mother had whispered about with her dying breath. Don't let him have it, her mother had gasped, purple veins spiderwebbing across her throat. The Cornwall deed, it only passes to you only through, you don't let him. Her mother had died before finishing, but 2 weeks ago Genevieve had found letters hidden in her mother's desk. Old correspondence between her mother and Victor Grimshaw, Matthias's father. The letters revealed a truth that had branded itself into Genevieve's mind. The Grimshaws had been circling her family for decades, patient as carrion birds. If any person can show just cause why they may not be joined together, the priest intoned, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. Silence. Genevieve's heart hammered against her ribs. She looked out at the assembled guests. Not one of them met her eyes. They studied their laps, their prayer books, the stained glass windows, anything but the young woman being sold at the altar. The priest nodded, satisfied. Then we shall proceed. Lord Matthias Grimshaw, do you take this woman? I have just cause. The voice was her own. Genevieve barely recognized it. It came from somewhere deep inside her, from the part of her that remembered her father teaching her to ride at age 6, fearless and laughing. From the part that remembered her mother's hands braiding her hair, gentle and strong. From the part that refused to die quietly. The chapel went silent. 200 guests froze. The priest blinked, confused. Matthias's hand on her back turned to iron. Genevieve turned to face him, looked directly into his pale blue eyes. I do not consent to this marriage. I refuse it. This union is void. For 3 seconds, Matthias simply stared at her, then in his expression shifted smooth as oil. He smiled, leaned close, whispered directly into her ear, his breath hot against her skin. Your tenants, 40 families, 200 people. They will burn tonight if you do not say the words. I have men positioned at every cottage. One signal from me, and the fires start. Children first. Genevieve's blood turned to ice. She glanced toward the windows. Yes, there they were. Dark figures positioned around the distant cottages, torches raised, waiting. He would do it. God help her, he would actually do it. Matthias pulled back, still smiling that public smile. To the guests, it must have looked like a groom reassuring his nervous bride. Say the words, Genevieve. Be a good girl. Her throat closed, her vision blurred. She opened her mouth to comply, to save those innocent lives, to sacrifice herself as women had done for centuries, because what else could she do? Then she saw it. Movement. Outside the window beyond the cottages at the edge of the forest. A flash of color. No, not color. Light. 2 points of molten gold catching the afternoon sun. Eyes. They were watching her. Watching the chapel. And somehow impossibly Genevieve knew they were watching for her. Something shifted inside her chest. Some instinct she had never known she possessed. Her mother's bloodline. Her grandmother's legacy. The heritage that had been hidden from her for her protection, they had said. But protection had only made her weak. She was done being weak. Genevieve looked at Matthias, at his perfect smile, at his cold eyes, at the monster wearing a gentleman's face. No, she said clearly. Then she grabbed the standing candelabra beside the altar and shoved it with every ounce of strength in her body. The heavy iron toppled. Candles scattered. Flames caught the dried flower arrangements. The altar cloth ignited. Fire bloomed across the sanctuary in seconds, feeding on decades of polish and varnish. Chaos erupted. Guests screamed. The priest stumbled backward. Matthias lunged for Genevieve, but she was already moving, already running, her heavy skirts bunched in both hands as she sprinted down the aisle. Stop her, Matthias roared. Guards, stop the bride. But the chapel was filling with smoke. Guests panicked, stampeding toward the exits. Genevieve hit the side door. At full speed, slammed through it, emerged into the garden behind the chapel. Rain. It was raining, the sky dark and swollen, the summer storm rolling in fast. The drops soaked through her veil, instantly plastered the lace to her skin. She kicked off her silk shoes and ran barefoot across the lawn, heading for the forest, for those golden eyes that had given her courage. Behind her, bells clanged. Matthias's men were being mobilized. She heard the baying of hounds the hunting dogs kept in the kennels for sport. They would track her. They would find her. She had minutes at best. The forest loomed ahead. Dark pines, thick undergrowth. Genevieve crashed into the tree-lined branches, tearing at her dress, her skin. The wedding gown was a disaster, 20 yards of fabric, catching on every thorn, but she did not stop. Could not stop. The hounds were getting closer. Their barking echoed through the rain. Genevieve's lungs burned. Her feet bled. She stumbled over a root, fell, hard tasted mud and copper. Get up, get up, get up! She forced herself to her feet, ran deeper. The forest grew darker, the canopy blocking what little light remained. She could barely see. Her heart slammed against her ribs so hard she thought it might break through. Then ahead through the rain and the gathering dusk, she saw it. A carriage. It sat on an unmarked forest path, completely black, no crest on the door, no lanterns lit. The horses were massive, dark as midnight, their eyes reflecting a strange amber glow in the dim light. They did not stamp or shift. They simply waited utterly still, as if they had been expecting her. The hounds were 50 yards behind. 40. 30. Genevieve made her choice. She grabbed the carriage door, wrenched it open, and threw herself inside. Darkness swallowed her whole. The door slammed shut on its own, the lock clicking with a heavy finality. Outside, the rain battered the roof. The hounds reached the carriage, their barking turning frantic. Confused, Genevieve pressed herself against the velvet seat, gasping for air, her entire body shaking. Then she smelled it. Pine needles, rich earth, leather, and underneath something else. Something wild and primal and utterly inhuman. You are bleeding on my upholstery, little dove. The voice came from the darkness across from her. Deep, resonant, the kind of voice that vibrated in the bones, that spoke of vast northern forests and winter mountains and things that hunted in the night. Genevieve's eyes adjusted slowly. A figure sat in the opposite seat, massive even sitting down, shoulders so broad they nearly touched both walls of the carriage. She could make out the shape of him, the shadow of a strong jaw, the fall of dark hair. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart. Gold. Molten gold, glowing faintly in the pitch darkness like coals in a dying fire. Not human eyes, not even close. Genevieve's voice came out as a rasp. She swallowed, tried again. I need help. Clearly, the man, the creature, whatever he was, did not move. You are running from Lord Matthias Grimshaw. You destroyed a chapel. You have hounds on your trail, and you just threw yourself into the carriage of a complete stranger. A pause. Not your wisest decision, perhaps. Genevieve's spine stiffened. Even terrified, even cornered, she would not be mocked. And you were sitting in the dark in an unmarked carriage outside a wedding chapel, like some kind of stalker. We both have questions. Silence. Then impossibly she heard it. A low sound. Laughter, actual laughter, rough and surprised, as if the man had not laughed in years and had forgotten how. Fair point, little dove. The golden eyes shifted, studying her. Why should I help you? Give me one reason I should not open this door and let Matthias's men take you. Genevieve lifted her chin, met those inhuman eyes directly. Because you came here to kill him. You were watching the chapel, waiting for the right moment, and I can help you. The temperature in the carriage dropped 10 degrees. The amusement vanished from the air, replaced by something far more dangerous. Careful, the man said softly. You are making assumptions about what I am, about what I can do, assumptions that could get you killed. You're a wolf. Genevieve said it with certainty, though she did not know where the certainty came from. A werewolf, and Matthias has been hunting your kind for years, funding the Inquisition raids, testing silver weapons on your people. You want him dead. The silence stretched so long Genevieve thought she had miscalculated fatally. Then the man leaned forward. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating his face for one brief second. Sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw covered in dark stubble, a long scar running from his temple down to his jaw, the mark of a silver blade, and those eyes burning with inner fire, predatory and impossibly sad. You are either very clever, he said quietly, or very foolish. I have not decided which. Outside voices shouted. Matthias's guards had reached the carriage. Boots splashed in the mud. A fist pounded on the door. Halt! In the name of Lord Matthias Grigaud, halt this carriage and open the door. Genevieve's breath caught. It was over. She had run as far as she could, and it had not been far enough. The golden-eyed man did not even glance toward the door. He simply kept watching her, his expression unreadable. Please, Genevieve whispered. It was the first time she had begged. The word tasted like ash. If you throw me out, he will kill me. Maybe not today, but eventually. He killed my father. He killed my mother. He will kill me the moment I am no longer useful. And why should the death of one human concern me? The question was not cruel, simply factual. Because I know about Cornwall, Genevieve said desperately. The caverns, the silver mines, the matrilineal deed. Matthias needs me alive to activate it, or he needs my blood spilled on the grounds. Either way, if he has me, he has the largest untapped silver deposit in the Western Territories. Enough to arm 10,000 men. Enough to wipe out every wolf pack in the north. The man went utterly still. How do you know about Cornwall? My mother told me, right before she died. She said, Genevieve's voice cracked. She said, don't let him have it. The deed passes through the female line. Only me, and Matthias knows it. The pounding on the door intensified. Open in the name of the law. The man studied her for one more long moment. Then he moved smooth and liquid, crossing the carriage to sit beside her. He was even larger up close, radiating heat despite the cold rains, smelling of forests and winter, and something fundamentally other. He reached past her. For one horrible second, Genevieve thought he was going to open the door himself, hand her over. Instead, he pulled a heavy fur cloak from the seat and draped it over her shoulders, covering her muddy, torn wedding dress completely. Then he positioned himself between her and the door, his massive frame blocking her from view entirely. Do not move, he murmured. Do not breathe loudly. Do not make a sound. Then he opened the door. Rain and torchlight flooded in. A guard stood there, soaked and furious, his hand on his sword. He raised his lantern, thrusting it into the carriage. The light fell on the man's face. The guard's expression shifted from anger to terror so fast it would have been comical if Genevieve had not been so terrified herself. Lord Ravenswood, the guard stammered, his hand falling away from his sword as if the metal had burned him. We did not see the crest, the insignia. You stopped my carriage. The man's voice was soft, deadly soft. You pounded on my door like a common brigand. You made demands. Explain yourself, soldier, before I lose my patience. The guard went white. My lord, we are searching for a runaway, Lord Matthias's bride. She fled the chapel and... Do I look like Lord Matthias's bride? The question was almost gentle. The threat underneath was not. No, my lord, of course not. I apologize. I merely thought perhaps she might have, that is, if you had seen... I saw nothing. I have been traveling from the north for 3 days. I know nothing of Matthias Grimshaw's domestic troubles. The man, Lord Ravenswood, apparently leaned forward slightly. Just slightly, but the guard flinched as if struck. And I suggest you remember, soldier, that the Treaty of Ashford grants safe passage to all pack lords through these territories. Stopping my carriage without cause is a violation of that treaty. Should I report this to the Northern Council, No. The guard stumbled backward. No, my lord. My deepest apologies. We will move the barricade immediately. Safe travels, Lord Ravenswood. Forgive the intrusion. The door slammed shut. Voices shouted outside. The barricade was dismantled with frantic speed. The carriage lurched forward, picking up speed as they left Somerset behind. Genevieve remained frozen under the fur cloak, pressed against the velvet seat, barely daring to breathe. They drove for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Finally, the carriage slowed to a normal pace. The rain continued to drum on the roof. Lord Ravenswood, the Wolf Lord, leaned back in his seat across from her. Those golden eyes found hers in the darkness. You can breathe now, Genevieve Hartwell. She inhaled shakily. How do you know my name? I have been watching the Hartwell estate for 6 months, waiting for Matthias to make his move. He tilted his head, studying her. You surprised me tonight. I surprised myself. Good. Predictable prey dies quickly. He crossed his arms. We have a 3-day journey north to my territory. During that time, we will establish terms. You are not my prisoner, but you are not my guest either. You are a complication I had not planned for. I can leave whenever I want. If you wish to walk back to Matthias, I will not stop you. His tone made it clear he thought she would not survive the attempt. Genevieve pulled the fur cloak tighter around her shoulders. It was warm. Impossibly warm. She was shivering, she realized, her entire body shaking with cold and shock and the crash of adrenaline. I need to know, she said quietly. Why did you protect me? You could have let them take me. It would have been easier. Lord Ravenswood was silent for a long moment. Then he said, 6 years ago, I watched someone I loved run from danger instead of toward it. She ran because she was brave, not because she was a coward. She ran to protect others, to draw the danger away from the innocents. His voice went rough. You remind me of her, and I failed to protect her. I will not fail twice. Genevieve did not know what to say to that, so she said nothing, just pulled the cloak tighter and watched the rain slide down the window as they drove north into the unknown. She had escaped Matthias Grimshaw's wedding, but she had thrown herself from one danger into another. The Wolf Lord was not human. He was not safe. He had his own agenda, his own plans, and she was just a piece on a board she did not fully understand. But when he had covered her with his cloak, when he had positioned his body between her and the guards, when he had looked at Matthias's soldier with those burning eyes and said, do I look like a bride? She had felt something she had not felt in 18 months. Protected, even if it was an illusion, even if it was temporary. For tonight, for this moment, someone was on her side. Genevieve closed her eyes and let the rhythm of the carriage rock her towards something that was not quite sleep, but was not quite waking either. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, wrapped in wolf scent and warmth, she felt almost safe. Almost. The journey north took 3 days, just as Lord Ravenswood had promised. 3 days of rain and mud and winding mountain roads. 3 days of learning that the Wolf Lord was a man of very few words when he chose to be. The first day he barely spoke. Genevieve slept fitfully, waking every few hours with panic clawing at her throat, convinced she was back in the chapel, back in Matthias's grip. Each time she would wake to find those amber eyes watching her from across the carriage, patient and unblinking. You are safe, he would say quietly. Sleep. And somehow, impossibly, she would. By the second day, the silence grew less oppressive. Genevieve studied her unexpected savior in the gray light filtering through the rain-streaked windows. Lord Killian Ravenswood, she had learned from the guard's terror. Duke of the Northern Territories. Alpha of the largest wolf pack in the realm. He was perhaps 30 years old, though it was hard to tell. The scar that ran from temple to jaw aged him. So did his eyes, weary beyond their years. But his body was young and powerful, built for violence, every movement controlled and precise. He dressed simply. Dark wool, leather, no jewels or unnecessary ornaments. But the quality was unmistakable. The cloak he had given her was lined with fur from some northern animal, soft as silk and warm as summer. You said you were watching my estate for 6 months, Genevieve said on the second afternoon as they climbed into the foothills. What by? Killian glanced at her. Matthias Grimshaw has been funding Inquisition raids for 6 years. 23 attacks on wolf territories. Over 300 dead. Most of them children. His voice remained calm, but his hands tightened on his knees. 6 months ago, my scouts intercepted coded messages between Matthias and the High Inquisitor. They mentioned Cornwall, Silver, a wedding. I came to investigate. You came to stop the wedding. I came to kill Matthias before he could access the silver mines. Killian's gaze met hers. Your escape was unexpected. So you planned to just murder him during the ceremony? Yes, no hesitation, no shame. Genevieve absorbed this. She should have been horrified. She should have demanded he let her out of the carriage immediately. Instead, she heard herself ask, would it have worked? A slight smile touched Killian's mouth. Yes. Good, Genevieve said. Then softer, I wish you had. They lapsed into silence again. But it was a different silence now. Less hostile. More understanding. That evening, they stopped at a roadside inn. Killian secured 2 rooms, not one Genevieve noticed. He handed her a bundle of clean clothes. These belonged to someone before. He did not elaborate. They should fit well enough. The clothes were simple. A wool dress, sturdy boots, a cloak. When Genevieve changed, she found they fit perfectly, as if they had been made for her. She did not ask who they had belonged to, did not want to know about the woman Killian had mentioned, the one who had run to protect others. That night, she slept in an actual bed for the first time in 3 days. The mattress was lumpy and the room was cold, but it was heaven. She did not wake once. The 3rd day dawned clear. The rain had finally stopped, leaving the world washed clean and bright. As they climbed higher into the mountains, the landscape changed. Rolling hills gave way to steep valleys. Oak forest became pine. The air grew thinner, colder, scented with snow and stone. Genevieve watched it all from the carriage window, mesmerized. She had never left Somerset in her life, had never seen mountains like these, raw and wild and beautiful. It is dangerous here, Killian said, following her gaze. Wolves, bears, worse things. Humans who venture into these mountains often do not return. Is that meant to frighten me? It is meant to prepare you. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Genevieve, I need to explain something before we reach Ravenswood Keep. Something about your heritage. Genevieve turned from the window. My heritage? Your grandmother was a wolf. Killian said it simply, as if he were commenting on the weather. A Luna. She made it a human man, your grandfather. The bloodline diluted, but it did not disappear. Your mother carried it, you carry it. Genevieve's mouth went dry. That is impossible. I would know. I would have shifted or something. Not necessarily. Latent bloodlines can remain dormant for generations, especially in families who actively suppress them. Killian's gaze was steady. Your mother hid the truth from you, probably to protect you. But the blood is still there. It is why you can see us clearly in darkness, why you recognized what I was immediately, why you ran toward the forest instead of toward the village. Instinct. I do not believe you. But even as Genevieve said it, she remembered. The golden eyes in the forest, the certainty that had filled her when she had grabbed the candelabra, the way she had known, absolutely known, that Lord Ravenswood was not human the moment she had entered his carriage. You do not have to believe me, Killian said quietly, but you will see the truth soon enough. Before Genevieve could respond, the carriage jolted violently. The horses screamed, the entire vehicle tipped sideways, throwing Genevieve across the interior. Killian caught her, his hands iron strong, preventing her from slamming into the wall. Then the carriage flipped. Wood splintered. Glass shattered. The world spun in a chaos of sound and pain. Killian wrapped himself around Genevieve, his body taking the brunt of the impact as they rolled. Once, twice, 3 times. They stopped. The carriage lay on its side. Rain that had not been there seconds ago poured through the broken windows. No, not rain. Genevieve blinked. Blood. It was blood running down Killian's face from a gash on his forehead. Out, he growled. Now, move! He kicked the door open, or what remained of it, dragged Genevieve through. They emerged into nightmare. The narrow mountain pass was crawling with men. 25, 30, all of them wearing the black leather armor of Inquisition hunters. All of them armed with crossbows that gleamed with a sickly silver sheen. And leading them, mounted on a gray horse, was a man Genevieve had never seen before. Elderly, perhaps 60 years old. He wore the deep crimson robes of a high inquisitor, and his eyes burned with the light of the truly mad. Killian Ravenswood, the man said, his voice ringing across the pass. Beast of the North, abomination, your time has come. Killian pushed Genevieve behind a boulder, his body once again shielding hers. High Inquisitor Caius, still alive, I see. Pity. Caius smiled. I have hunted your kind for 40 years, Wolf. Tonight I add your head to my collection. He gestured to his men. But first the girl. Lord Matthias pays triple for her alive. He needs her blood for the Cornwall ritual. Ice flooded Genevieve's veins. The ritual. Of course, Matthias did not need to marry her. He just needed her blood spilled on Cornwall soil, and the deed would activate. She is under my protection, Killian said. His voice had changed, layered, deeper, inhuman. Touch her, and I will show you what a true monster looks like. Caius laughed. Your protection means nothing. You are one wolf against 30 trained hunters. Surrender and I will make your death quick. Resist and I will make you watch as we bleed the girl slowly. For answer, Killian turned to Genevieve. His eyes were no longer golden. They were molten amber, blazing so brightly they cast light on her face. His teeth had sharpened into fangs. His hands ended in claws. When I shift, he said quietly, urgently, close your eyes. Do not look at me. Do not watch what I become. And when it is over, no matter what you see, no matter how much I frighten you, remember that I am still the man who gave you his cloak. Killian, promise me. Genevieve's throat closed. She nodded. Killian straightened, turned to face the hunters. You want a monster, Inquisitor? Let me show you one. The transformation happened so fast, Genevieve barely had time to close her eyes. But she heard it. Bones snapping, reforming, flesh tearing, a roar that shook the mountain itself, part human scream and part animal rage. The smell hit her wild and primal. The scent of forests older than kingdoms of hunts under full moons of power that predated human civilization. Genevieve's eyes flew open despite her promise. Where Killian Ravenswood had stood there now crouched something from legend. 9 feet tall, covered in midnight black fur. Built like a man but shaped like a wolf, standing on 2 legs, arms ending in claws like curved swords. The head was entirely lupine jaws, filled with teeth designed to shred armor. And the eyes, still amber, still Killian's, still watching her. The hunter screamed, crossbows fired, 5 silver bolts slammed into the creature's chest and shoulders. Black blood sprayed. The werewolf, the lichen, whatever he was, stumbled. Then he smiled, actually smiled, a terrifying expression on that monstrous face, and attacked. Genevieve had closed her eyes again, but she could not close her ears. The sounds would haunt her forever. Screaming, tearing. The wet crunch of metal giving way. Men begging for mercy that did not come. The smell of blood, hot and copper, flooding the pass. It lasted 90 seconds. That was all. 90 seconds of absolute carnage. Then silence. Genevieve forced her eyes open. The pass was painted red. Bodies lay where they had fallen, armor rent, open weapons scattered. The hunters who had not died had fled, their screams echoing in the distance. High Inquisitor Caius lay crumpled against a rock, his neck bent at an unnatural angle. His eyes stared at nothing. And in the center of the massacre, the great black wolf stood panting, bleeding from 5 silver wounds. As Genevieve watched the creature turn toward her, she should have run. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Instead, she found herself moving forward. 1 step, then another. The wolf watched her approach. He was shaking, she realized, trembling. The silver bolts were killing him, slowly burning him from the inside out. Smoke rose from the wounds, carrying the acrid stench of poisoned flesh. Genevieve stopped 3 feet away. The wolf was so much larger than her. He could kill her with a single swipe. But he did not move. Just watched her with those amber eyes, and she saw it now. The pain, the fear, not of death, of her, of what she would think of him now that she had seen the monster. Killian, Genevieve whispered. The wolf's ears flicked forward. Listening, Genevieve stepped closer, placed one hand on the massive furred chest right above the worst wound, felt the rapid struggling heartbeat beneath her palm. I need to take the arrows out, she said quietly. It is going to hurt. But if I do not, you will die. Do you understand? The wolf made a sound, low, pained, but he nodded, actually nodded. Genevieve took a breath. She had watched her mother's physician work countless times, had helped stitch wounds on tenant farmers after accidents. She knew the theory. Theory and practice were very different when the patient was a 9-foot werewolf bleeding silver poison. She gripped the first bolt. It protruded from his right shoulder, buried deep. The shaft was hot to the touch, burning her palm immediately. Blisters rose on her skin. She ignored them. On 3, she said. 1, 2. She yanked on 2. The wolf's roar shook the mountain. Birds exploded from distant trees. The massive body convulsed, claws gouging trenches in the stone beneath him. But he did not strike her. Did not hurt her. Black blood sprayed across Genevieve's face and chest. The silver bolt came free, still sizzling with heat. She threw it aside and moved to the second wound. 4 more times she did this. 4 more times the wolf screamed. 4 more times he could have killed her and chose not to. When the last bolt fell to the ground, the great creature collapsed, simply folded his massive weight, hitting the stone with a sound like thunder. Genevieve fell with him, her hands still pressed to his chest, feeling the heartbeat slow weaken. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no, stay with me. Killian, stay with me." The wolf's eyes were closing. The transformation began to reverse. Fur receded, bones cracked back into human proportions. Within seconds, it was not a monster lying on the bloody stone. It was a man, Killian, unconscious, naked, covered in wounds that were trying to heal but could not completely. The silver had burned too deep. Genevieve ripped off her cloak, covered him with it. His skin was burning, hot fever already setting in. The silver poisoning was in his blood now. A sound behind her made her spin. A man limped from the forest, one hand pressed to his bleeding thigh. Older, scarred, but his eyes were kind, even through the pain. "My lady," he rasped. "I am Dorian, Lord Ravenswood's second. We were ambushed separately." He looked at the carnage, at his fallen alpha. His face went gray. "We need to move, now. More hunters will come." Together they managed to lift Killian onto the surviving horse. It took all their strength. Genevieve rode behind, holding Killian's unconscious body upright, her arms wrapped around him to keep him from falling. His blood soaked into her dress. His fever burned through the cloak. And with every mile they rode north, she felt something changing inside her. Something in her blood responding to his. A connection forming that she did not understand but could not deny. She had touched his wounds, had held his blood in her hands, had refused to abandon him even when he was a monster. And the wolf in him recognized it, recognized her. "Hold on," she whispered against his sweat-drenched hair. "We are almost there. Just hold on, Killian. Please, I cannot lose you. Not after everything. Not after you saved me. I cannot lose you too." The forest opened ahead of them. And rising from the mist like something from a legend carved into the mountainside itself was Ravenswood Keep. Massive, timeless, beautiful and terrible all at once. Home. The gates ground open. Wolves, hundreds of them in human form, poured out. They saw their alpha, saw the blood. Panic rippled through the crowd. An older woman ran down the stone steps, gray hair flying. Her eyes flashed yellow. Wolf eyes. "Get him to the healing ward," she commanded. "Now, and someone tell me what happened." "Silver," Dorian said grimly. "5 bolts. She pulled them out." He gestured to Genevieve. The woman's gaze snapped to Genevieve, to her blistered, blackened hands, to the blood covering her, to the way she still held Killian even as others tried to take him. "You pulled Silver from a wolf," the woman said slowly, "with your bare hands." Genevieve nodded, could not speak, could barely stand. The woman's expression softened. "Then you are either the bravest human I have ever met, or the most foolish. Come, bring him inside. We will save him together." They carried Killian into the keep, into the warmth, into safety, and Genevieve, still covered in his blood, still feeling the ghost of his heartbeat under her hands, knew with absolute certainty that she was no longer the same woman who had fled that chapel 3 days ago. That woman had been running from something. This woman was running towards something, toward a future she could not yet see, toward a pack she did not yet understand, toward a man who was both monster and savior, toward home. The healing ward smelled of wolfsbane and snow. Genevieve sat in the chair beside Killian's bed, her burned hands wrapped in linen, soaked with some northern herb she could not name. The physician, the gray-haired woman who had introduced herself as Rowena Ravenswood, worked with silent efficiency. Her fingers were steady as she packed Killian's wounds with poultices that hissed and smoked against his fevered skin. "The silver is in his bloodstream," Rowena said quietly, not looking up from her work. "It will take days to burn through, maybe a week, if he survives the fever." She paused, then added, "You should rest, child. You have done all you can." Genevieve shook her head. Words felt too heavy. She had not left this chair in 6 hours, had not slept, could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Killian's transformation, saw the silver bolts piercing his chest, heard his screams when she had pulled them free, felt his heartbeat slowing under her hands. "He will live," Genevieve said. It was not a question, not a hope, a command to the universe, to fate, to whatever God might be listening. He has to live. Rowena's hands stilled. She looked at Genevieve properly for the first time, her amber eyes seeing far too much. "Why, she asked softly. "Why does a human girl care whether a wolf lives or dies? Because he gave me his cloak. Because he stood between me and the guards. Because when he could have used me as bait, he protected me instead. Because when I saw the monster, I also saw the man. Because he saved me, Genevieve said finally, and I pay my debts. Rowena studied her a moment longer. Then she nodded as if Genevieve had passed some invisible test. Then you will stay, but you must rest. Healing takes time and exhaustion helps no one. She gestured to a cot against the wall. Sleep there. I will wake you if anything changes. Genevieve wanted to argue, but her body betrayed her. The moment she lay down on the narrow cot, darkness pulled her under like a tide. She dreamed, not normal dreams, memories that were not hers, visions that burned behind her eyes with the clarity of lived experience. A wedding chapel, not Somerset, somewhere else, older. Stone walls covered in ivy, sunlight streaming through windows. And at the altar, Killian, younger, perhaps 26, no scar on his face yet, smiling, and actually smiling wide and genuine and full of joy. Beside him stood a woman, auburn hair that caught the light like copper, green eyes bright with happiness. She wore a simple white dress, wildflowers woven into her hair. When she looked at Killian, her whole face transformed with love. Killian Ravenswood, she said, her voice warm as summer, I choose you, in this life and the next, my mate, my alpha, my heart. Killian took her hands and Genevieve had never seen anyone look so happy. Isolde, he whispered, my Luna, my... The doors exploded inward, 40 soldiers in black armor, Inquisition hunters. They poured into the chapel like a plague, crossbows raised, silver swords drawn. The wedding guests screamed, shifted. The chapel descended into chaos. Isolde did not hesitate. She shifted mid-step, her body erupting into white fur, a she-wolf the size of a small horse. She threw herself at the soldiers, buying time. Run, she howled at Killian. Protect the pack. Go! Killian shifted too, his lichen form tearing through his wedding clothes. He killed 3 soldiers, 5, 7, fought his way toward Isolde, but there were too many. A silver lance thrown from the doorway punched through Isolde's chest, through her heart. She fell mid-leap, her white fur staining crimson. Killian's roar shook the chapel, shook the world. He became something beyond a werewolf, beyond reason, a force of pure rage and grief. He killed every soldier in that chapel, every single one, barehanded, tore them apart with claws and teeth until the stones ran red. When the last soldier fell, Killian stumbled to Isolde's body. She had shifted back to human. The lance still protruded from her chest. Her eyes were open, empty. He gathered her in his arms, cradled her against his chest, and wept. Great tearing sobs that sounded like they were being pulled from his soul. A soldier not quite dead dragged himself forward, slashed weakly with a silver dagger. The blade caught Killian's face temple to jaw, laying it open. Killian killed him without even looking, without even feeling the pain, because nothing could hurt worse than what he was already holding. He sat there for hours, holding Isolde, rocking her, whispering apologies she would never hear. When pack members finally came, when they gently pried her body from his arms, Killian let out a howl that echoed across the mountains. A howl of such profound loss that wolves 50 miles away stopped what they were doing and mourned with him. Genevieve woke, gasping, tears streaming down her face. The healing ward was dark. Night had fallen. A single candle burned on the table beside Killian's bed, and Killian was awake. He lay perfectly still, staring at the ceiling, but his eyes were open, aware. The fever still burned in him. She could see the sheen of sweat on his skin, the trembling in his hands, but he was conscious. Genevieve stood on shaking legs, crossed to his bedside. Killian. His eyes moved to her. For a long moment, he simply looked at her. Then in a voice raw as broken glass, he said, You saw. It was not a question. Genevieve sank into the chair. How? When you pulled the silver, you touched my blood. Your blood has wolf in it. Dormant, but there. The mixing created a connection. He closed his eyes. I am sorry. I should have warned you. Now you are tied to me. You will feel my pain, see my memories, and I will feel yours. Genevieve thought about this, about the dream, about Isolde's face as the lance struck home, about Killian's grief still raw after 6 years still bleeding. I am sorry, she whispered. I am so sorry about Isolde. Killian's jaw tightened. She died because of me, because I was not fast enough, not strong enough. I could not save her. His eyes opened, finding Genevieve's. She was 3 months pregnant when they killed her. A boy. She knew. She knew, and she shifted anyway to save me, to save the pack. The words hit Genevieve like a physical blow. She reached out, took his hand. His skin burned with fever, but she did not let go. The Inquisition killed them, she said quietly. Matthias Grimshaw funded them. They are the monsters, Killian. Not you. He looked at their joined hands, at her bandaged palms still blackened from the silver burns. You should not have touched those arrows. Silver scars humans almost as badly as it burns wolves. You took 5 arrows for a stranger. Genevieve's throat tightened. I could take some burns for a friend. Killian's eyes snapped to hers. Friend. The word hung between them. Fragile. Precious. Genevieve had not had a friend in years, not a real one. Matthias had isolated her carefully, systematically, cutting her off from anyone who might help her escape. Yes, she said firmly. Friend. Something shifted in Killian's expression. Some of the terrible emptiness retreated. I have not had a friend in a long time, little dove. Neither have I. They sat in silence, hands joined as the candle burned lower. Outside, wolves howled in the distance. The sound was lonely, beautiful, timeless. Finally, Killian's eyes drifted closed. His breathing deepened. Sleep took him again, but this time it was easier, calmer. Genevieve stayed where she was, holding his hand, keeping watch. The fever raged for 6 days. 6 days during which Killian burned and shook and cried out in delirium, sometimes in English, sometimes in the old wolf tongue that Genevieve did not understand. 6 days during which Rowena worked tirelessly changing poultices, forcing herbal tinctures between his lips, monitoring every breath. And 6 days during which Genevieve refused to leave. She slept in the chair, ate meals brought by silent, watchful pack members, bathed with cold water from a basin, not caring who saw, because leaving the room was unthinkable. On the second day, a little boy came, perhaps 9 years old, thin and serious, with dark curls and gray eyes that looked far too old for his face. He stood in the doorway, clutching a wooden toy wolf. Is Alpha going to die? He asked quietly. Genevieve looked at him, at the fear poorly hidden behind his solemn expression. No, she said firmly. He is not going to die. I will not allow it. The boy studied her. You are the human lady, the one who pulled the silver. Yes. Dorian says you are very brave. The boy took a step closer. Or very stupid. He has not decided which. Despite everything, Genevieve felt her mouth twitch. Probably both. The boy nodded seriously as if this made perfect sense. I am Finn. My parents died when I was 3. Alpha Killian took me in. He teaches me to read. He looked at Killian's still form. He is the best person I know. Please do not let him die. Genevieve's chest tightened. I promise Finn. He will wake up. Finn nodded. Set the wooden wolf on the bedside table. For when he wakes up, I made it for him, so he knows we are waiting. Then he left quick as a shadow. Genevieve picked up the carved wolf. The work was clumsy but earnest, every line whittled with care. She set it where Killian would see it, first thing when he opened his eyes. On the third day, Killian woke for 10 minutes. Saw Genevieve, smiled weakly. Still here? Where else would I be? Wise women run from wolves, not toward them. Then I suppose I am not very wise. His smile widened a fraction. Then he looked at her hands still bandaged, reached out with trembling fingers to touch the linen wrapping. These will scar. Good. Then I will have proof I did not dream all this. Killian's hand turned, his fingers tangling with hers despite the bandages. I see you, Genevieve Hartwell, and you are magnificent. Then the fever pulled him under again. On the 4th day, a woman came, perhaps 35, beautiful in a worn, weary way. She carried a basket of bread that smelled of honey and rosemary. My lady, she said quietly, I am Mira, the pack baker. She set the basket down. Dorian said you have not eaten properly in days. I thought fresh bread might help. Genevieve's stomach growled traitorously. She had been surviving on whatever the healers brought, barely tasting it. Thank you, Mira nodded, turned to leave, paused. My lady, why are you doing this? Why are you staying? He saved my life. He has saved many lives, but none of them sat vigil for 6 days. Genevieve looked at Killian's sleeping face, at the scar on his jaw, the one as old as death had given him. Because no one should have to wake up alone, she said quietly. No one should. Mira's eyes filled with tears. My husband died 6 years ago, in the same raid that killed Luna Isolde. I have been alone since. She stepped forward, impulsively squeezed Genevieve's shoulder. Thank you, for caring, for staying. The pack needs our Alpha, but more than that, he needs someone to remind him he is not just a weapon. He is a man, a good man. She left quickly before Genevieve could respond, but the bread was warm and sweet, and Genevieve ate every crumb. On the fifth day, the worst day, Killian's fever spiked to 105 degrees. He convulsed, stopped breathing twice. Rowena had to use magic old pack magic that smelled of earth and blood to restart his heart. Genevieve held Killian's hand through all of it, felt his pain through the bond, white-hot and all-consuming, felt his wolf struggling to heal, to fight to survive. "Do not you dare," she whispered fiercely, leaning close to his ear. "Do not you dare give up Killian Ravenswood. You have a little boy waiting for you, a pack that needs you. You cannot give up. Not now, not ever." His fingers twitched in hers, his breathing steadied. The fever held, did not climb higher. Rowena looked at Genevieve with something like awe. "The bond is strong, stronger than I have seen in decades. You are anchoring him, giving him a reason to fight. Will it be enough? I do not know." Rowena's honesty was brutal, kind. "But without you, he would already be gone." On the sixth day, as dawn broke over the mountains, painting the snow-covered peaks in shades of rose and gold, Killian's fever broke. Genevieve had dozed off in her chair, her head resting on the edge of his bed, her hands still wrapped around his. She woke to the feeling of fingers gently touching her hair. She lifted her head. Killian was awake. Truly awake, not fever dream awake. His eyes were clear, tired but clear. And he was looking at her with an expression she could not name. "You stayed," he said hoarsely. Genevieve's vision blurred. She had not cried once during the 6 days, had been too focused, too determined. But now seeing him awake, seeing him alive, the dam broke. "You are such an idiot," she choked out. "Do you have any idea how terrified I was? I have known you for a week, 1 week, and somehow the thought of you dying was—" She could not finish, could not find the words. Killian sat up slowly, wincing. Before Rowena could scold him for moving, before Genevieve could stop him, he pulled her into his arms. He was all hard muscle and fevered skin and the wild scent of pine forests. His heart beat strong and steady against her ear. Alive. He was alive. "I am sorry," he murmured into her hair. "I am sorry I frightened you." Genevieve wrapped her arms around him, held on. "Just do not do it again. I will try my best, little dove." They stayed like that for a long moment. Then Rowena cleared her throat pointedly. "As touching as this is, my lord, you need rest. Real rest. No more fever dreams, no more near-death experiences. Just sleep." Killian pulled back reluctantly, looked at Genevieve. "Will you stay? Just until I fall asleep?" As if she could do anything else. "Yes." He lay back down. She returned to her chair. Their hands found each other automatically, now fingers intertwining as naturally as breathing. "Genevieve," Killian's voice was already drowsy, the exhaustion pulling him down. "Yes. Thank you for the silver, for staying, for seeing the man, not just the monster." Genevieve squeezed his hand. "I only see a man, Killian. A good man. That is all I have ever seen." He smiled, fell asleep smiling. And Genevieve sat watch over him as the sun rose higher, as the keep came to life around them, as pack members whispered their relief that the Alpha had survived. She had thought she was done running, but she was wrong. She was not running anymore. She was choosing. The next 12 days passed in a strange, suspended peace. Killian healed slowly. The silver had damaged him more deeply than anyone had wanted to admit. He could walk now, but not far. Could shift, but the transformation was agony. His wolf was injured, Rowena explained. The beast and the man were tied together. When one hurt, both hurt. So Killian stayed human, walked the keep with a cane he hated, sat in the great library by the fire, and tried not to show how much pain he was in. Genevieve saw through it immediately. The bond betrayed him. She felt his frustration, his fear that he might never fully heal. "You are healing," she told him one evening as they sat in the library. She had taken to spending her evenings there ostensibly to read, actually to watch Killian and make sure he did not push himself too hard. "There is a difference between healing and being weak." Killian looked up from his book. "The pack needs a strong alpha. The pack needs a living alpha." Genevieve set her own book aside. "Strength means nothing if you are dead. Give yourself time. Time is a luxury we do not have." Killian's jaw tightened. "Matthias will not stop hunting you. The eclipse is in 18 days. If he captures you before then, if he spills your blood on Cornwall soil during the eclipse, the deed activates. He gets the silver, and my pack dies." Genevieve had learned about the eclipse, about the specific magic that tied blood and land and lunar cycles together, about how matrilineal deeds required either marriage or blood sacrifice under specific celestial conditions. Then we have 18 days to plan, she said calmly. 18 days to figure out how to stop him. Killian's eyebrow rose. Did you think I would hide while you fought? Genevieve met his gaze steadily. I am part of this now, whether I wanted to be or not. Matthias wants me. Fine. Let him come. But he will not find a frightened girl waiting. Something shifted in Killian's expression. Pride. Admiration. You would make a terrifying Luna Genevieve Hartwell. The words should have been casual, teasing, but they hung in the air between them, weighted with meaning neither of them wanted to examine too closely. I am not interested in being a Luna, Genevieve said, but her voice was less certain than she wanted it to be. No. Killian's eyes, amber in the firelight, searched hers. Then what are you interested in? Survival, freedom, a life that is my own, but also the warmth of this library, the sound of Killian's voice when he reads aloud, the feeling of being part of something larger than myself, the pack members who nod to me in the halls, little Finn, who brings me flowers from the greenhouse, Mira, who teaches me to braid bread. I am interested in this. I have not decided yet, Genevieve said finally. Killian smiled. Fair enough. They returned to their books, but the question lingered. On the 14th day after the ambush, everything changed. Genevieve was in the greenhouse with Finn learning the names of northern herbs when the warning bells rang. Not the soft bells that called people to meals, the loud, harsh bells that meant danger. Finn's eyes went wide. Raiders, Dorian appeared in the greenhouse doorway, his scarred face grim. My lady, come with me, now. Genevieve's heart kicked. What happened? We have a visitor. Claims to be your aunt. Dorian's hand rested on his sword hilt. But something smells wrong. They hurried through the keep. Wolves were mobilizing, taking defensive positions. Genevieve had learned enough in 2 weeks to know this was serious. The pack did not panic easily. They reached the Great Hall. Killian was there, leaning on his cane, but standing tall. His eyes glowed faint amber, battle-ready despite his injuries. And kneeling on the stone floor, hands bound, was a woman Genevieve had not seen in 20 years. Aunt Isolde, she breathed. The woman looked up. She was 48, but looked older, worn down by time and fear. Her hair, once the same honey brown as Genevieve's mother's, was streaked with gray. Her eyes were the same shape as Genevieve's, the same deep brown. Genevieve, Isolde's voice cracked. Oh, thank God. You are alive. I heard about the wedding. I came as fast as I could. I had to warn you. She smells of sulfur, Killian said flatly, and desperation. I do not trust her. Rowena knelt beside Isolde, sniffing carefully, frowned. No blood magic marks, no tracking spells. She is telling the truth about who she is. She looked at Killian, but she is terrified, and not of us. Genevieve stepped forward. Why did you disappear? After my father's funeral, you vanished. We thought you were dead. Isolde's eyes filled with tears. I ran. Matthias threatened to kill me if I stayed near you or your mother. I thought if I left, he would leave you alone. I was wrong. I was so wrong, and I am sorry, Genevieve. I am so sorry. Why come now? Because he has my daughter. The words broke on a sob. Bryn, she is 17. I kept her hidden all these years, but he found her 6 months ago. He is holding her at Cornwall Keep, forcing her to work the excavations. He sent word, told me to come here to watch you, to report back, or he would kill her. Silence fell over the hall. Killian's voice was dangerously soft. So you are No. Isolde looked up desperately. I came to warn you. Matthias sent another woman, a spy named Marderi. She infiltrated your keep days ago, posing as a refugee. But I came to tell you the truth. He is excavating Cornwall caverns right now, illegally, using enslaved workers. 200 people, including my daughter. He has already extracted enough silver for 20,000 bullets. In 16 days, he marches north with 4,000 soldiers, all of them armed with silver. The number hit like a physical blow. 4,000 against Killian's 300. Why should we believe you? Dorian demanded. You just admitted Matthias sent you. Because Bryn is my daughter. Isolde's voice broke. And I will not let him kill another child. I will not. You can verify everything I have told you. Send scouts to Cornwall. You will see the excavations, the forges, the enslaved workers. It is all true. She looked at Genevieve. I failed your mother. I ran when I should have stayed, but I will not fail you. Please, let me help. Let me earn your trust. And then, if you are willing, help me save my daughter. Genevieve looked at Killian, found him already watching her. The bond hummed between them. She could feel his suspicion. his protectiveness, but also his understanding. We verify her story first, Genevieve said. Send scouts to Cornwall. If she is telling the truth, then we help her. We save Bryn. Because that is what we do. We protect the innocent. Killian held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. Dorian, take 2 scouts, fast riders. I want eyes on Cornwall Keep by dawn tomorrow. Yes, Alpha. He looked at Isolde. You will be confined to quarters under guard. If you have lied, if this is a trap, you will not live to regret it. Am I clear? Isolde nodded quickly. Thank you. Thank you. She was led away. The hall emptied. Soon it was just Genevieve and Killian, the firelight casting long shadows across the stone. You believe her, Killian said, not a question. I do not know. Genevieve pressed her hands to her eyes. She is family, but I have not seen her in 20 years. She could be lying. She could be exactly what you think she is. But if she is telling the truth, if there is a 17-year-old girl being held prisoner and forced to dig in silver mines, I have to help. I have to. Because if I do not, I am no better than Matthias. Killian crossed to her, took her face in his hands, tilting it up to meet his eyes. You are nothing like him. Nothing. Do you understand me? Matthias is a monster who hurts the innocent. You are kindness and strength and fierce, beautiful courage. Do not ever compare yourself to him. Genevieve's breath caught. They were so close. His hands were warm on her skin. His eyes held hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. Killian, she whispered. The great hall doors burst open. Dorian stumbled in, supporting another wolf, a scout young, bleeding from a dozen cuts. Alpha, we found her. The Spiwai, Marjorie. She was in the chapel using blood magic to communicate with Matthias. Killian's hands dropped from Genevieve's face. He grabbed his cane, moving faster than he should. Where is she now? Dungeons. But Alpha, she said, Matthias knows. He knows Lady Genevieve is here. He knows about your injuries. He knows we have less than 300 fighters. She has been feeding him intelligence for days. The room seemed to tilt. Genevieve gripped the back of a chair. How long? She infiltrated 4 days after you arrived. She has been here for over a week. Over a week. Matthias had known where she was for over a week, had known Killian was injured, had been planning, preparing, and they had been sitting here thinking they had time. He is coming, Genevieve said. Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. That is why Isolde came, not just to warn us, but because he is already mobilizing. The eclipse is in 16 days. He does not need 16 days. He is coming now. As if summoned by her words, the watch bells began to ring. Not warning bells this time. Battle bells. A scout ran in gasping. Alpha Army on the southern road. 4,000 strong siege engines. They will be here by dawn. The room fell silent. 4,000 soldiers against 300 wolves, with Killian barely healed, with Matthias knowing every weakness in their defenses. Get everyone to battle stations, Killian said quietly, calmly. Evacuate the children and elderly to the deep caves, fighters on the walls, archers to the towers. Move. People scattered, but Killian caught Genevieve's arm before she could follow. I need you to run, he said urgently. Dorian will take you through the northern pass. There is a ship waiting at the coast. You will have gold supplies, everything you need to disappear, to start over. Genevieve stared at him. You think I am going to run now? You have to. If Matthias takes you, he wins. No. Genevieve pulled her arm free. I am not running. Not anymore. I will not hide while you die for me. I will not. Killian's jaw clenched. If you stay, you will watch this pack be destroyed. Then I will fall beside you. Genevieve's eyes burned. We survived together or not at all. That is the bond. Your life tied to mine. Mine to yours. So stop trying to send me away and let me help. They stood facing each other. The battle bells rang. Outside, wolves howled. Dawn was coming. And with it, war. There might be another way, Genevieve said suddenly. The old books, the ones about matrilineal magic. I have been reading them. There is a law. It says a magical claim on territory is voided if the land belongs to a bonded Luna. Killian went very still. What are you saying? If you, Genevieve's heart hammered, if you mate me, right now, before the battle, the Cornwall deed transfers to your pack, not to Matthias. The magic would reject his claim. His financiers would pull their support. The army would fall apart. Genevieve, Killian's voice was strained. Mating is permanent, forever. You would be bound to me, to this life, to the pack. You would never be free. I do not want freedom from you. I want freedom with you. I want this. The library, the greenhouse, Finn bringing me flowers, Mira teaching me to braid bread. I want mornings watching the sun rise over the mountains. I want evenings by the fire. I want you. Killian stared at her. You do not know what you are saying. I know exactly what I am saying. I am saying I choose this. I choose you. Not because I have to, not because it is practical or strategic or the only option. She stepped closer. But because in 2 weeks you have shown me what it means to be seen, to be valued, to be cared for. And her voice broke. I love you, Killian Ravenswood. I love the man who gave me his cloak in a dark carriage. I love the wolf who protected me from the guards. I love the alpha who teaches orphan boys to read. I am terrified and I barely understand what I am feeling, but I know I love you. And I will not let Matthias take this away from us. The silence stretched. Genevieve could hear her own heartbeat, could feel Killian's through the bond racing as fast as hers. Then Killian moved, crossed the distance between them in 2 steps, cupped her face in his hands. I have loved you since you pulled silver from my chest with your bare hands, he said roughly, since you sat beside my bed for 6 days, since you looked at the monster and saw a man. I love you and I am terrified of losing you. You will not lose me. You do not know that. Yes, Genevieve said firmly, I do, because we are not them. We are us, and we are stronger together. Killian searched her eyes, looking for doubt, for hesitation, finding none. If I do this, he whispered, you are mine, until the stars fall from the sky, until the mountains crumble to dust. Forever, Genevieve. Do you understand forever? Genevieve smiled, felt tears slide down her cheeks, happy tears, terrified tears. Then let the stars fall, let the mountains crumble. I choose forever with you. Killian kissed her. It was nothing like the romances Genevieve had read as a girl. It was desperate and fierce and tasted of salt and smoke, and promises that could not be broken. His hands tangled in her hair, her fingers gripped his shirt. The bond between them flared so brightly it was almost painful, 2 souls recognizing each other, claiming each other. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Killian rested his forehead against hers. I will do everything in my power to keep you safe, he vowed, to make you happy, to be worthy of this gift you are giving me. You already are, Genevieve whispered. Outside the sky was lightening, dawn approached, and with it Matthias Grimshaw's army. But inside the keep in the great hall, a wolf and a woman made their choice. Together, forever. No matter what came with the sunrise. The chapel at Ravenswood Keep was older than the stone that surrounded it. Rowena had explained this to Genevieve as they prepared her weathered hands braiding moonflowers into Genevieve's hair with practiced efficiency. The chapel had been built by the first wolves who settled these mountains, carved directly into the living rock, a place where earth and spirit met. The magic here runs deep, Rowena said quietly, her amber eyes catching the candlelight. Older than human law, older than written contracts. When you mate in this place, the land itself bears witness. Nothing can break that bond. Not death, not distance, not time. Genevieve's hands trembled in her lap. Outside, she could hear the sounds of preparation. Fighters taking positions on the walls, families being evacuated to the caves, children crying, mothers soothing them with lies about everything being fine. Matthias's army would arrive by dawn. 2 hours, maybe 3, and here she sat preparing to bind herself forever to a man she had known for 16 days. Are you afraid? Rowena asked gently. Genevieve considered lying. Then she remembered the bond. Killian would feel the truth anyway. Yes, but not of the mating, of everything else, of not being enough, of watching everyone I have come to care about die because I was not brave enough, or smart enough, or strong enough to stop it. Rowena's hand stilled. She came around to face Genevieve, directly took her chin in one firm hand. Listen to me, child. You pulled silver from an alpha's chest with your bare hands. You stayed beside him when he was at his weakest. You walked into a den of wolves, human and fragile, and earned their respect through nothing but your own courage and kindness. Little Finn adores you. Mira lights up when you enter the kitchens. Dorian, who has not smiled since his mate died 7 years ago, smiled yesterday when you beat him at knife throwing. I did not beat him. He let me win. He did not let you win. You are a natural. Rowena's eyes blazed. You are more than enough, Genevieve Hartwell. And after tonight, you will be Genevieve Ravenswood, Luna of this pack, and we will follow you anywhere. Genevieve's throat closed. She nodded, not trusting her voice. A soft knock at the door. Isolde entered, escorted by two guards. Her eyes were red from crying, but she had cleaned herself up. Wore a simple gray dress that had belonged to Genevieve's mother once decades ago. I brought this, Isolde said hesitantly. She held out a silver chain. No, not silver, white gold. Hanging from it was a pendant shaped like a crescent moon inlaid with tiny diamonds that caught the light like stars. It was your grandmother's, the first Luna. Your mother gave it to me for safekeeping before she died. She wanted you to have it for your wedding day. Genevieve took the pendant with shaking hands. It was warm, as if it had been held close to someone's heart, as if it remembered love. Thank you, she whispered. Isolde clasped the chain around Genevieve's neck. The pendant settled just above her heart. Perfect. Right. I am sorry, Isolde said quietly, for running, for leaving you and your mother alone, for being too afraid to stay and fight. I let fear rule me for 20 years. But you are braver than I ever was. Genevieve turned, looked at her aunt, this woman who had been absent for so long, and she saw the regret, the genuine bone-deep remorse, the desperate hope for forgiveness. You came back, Genevieve said. You risked your life to warn us, to save your daughter. That takes courage too. She took Isolde's hands. Help me now. Stand with me tonight. Be the family I need you to be. Isolde's face crumpled. She nodded, tears streaming. Yes, yes, I will, I swear it. Rowena cleared her throat. It is time. Genevieve stood. She wore a simple white dress, nothing like the suffocating lace prison Matthias had forced on her. This dress was soft wool embroidered with silver thread in patterns that looked like wolf tracks and crescent moons. It had belonged to Isolde Killian's Isolde, the first Luna. Rowena had offered it with gentle reverence. She would want you to have it, would want Killian to see that life continues, that love continues, that her death was not the end of everything. Now wearing it, Genevieve felt the weight of that legacy, the Luna who had died protecting her pack, the Luna who had loved so fiercely she had sacrificed everything. I will honor you, Genevieve promised silently. I will protect what you died for. I swear it. They walked through the keep. Wolves lined the corridors, silent, respectful. Some touched their foreheads. As she passed, a gesture of reverence Genevieve did not fully understand but felt in her bones. The chapel doors stood open. Inside, the space was small, intimate, carved from dark stone that seemed to absorb the candlelight rather than reflect it. The ceiling disappeared into shadows. The walls were covered in runes that glowed faintly, and at the altar, beside a small stone basin filled with clear water, stood Killian. He had dressed in formal clothing, black leather and dark wool cut in the northern style. No crown, no jewels, just himself, his scarred face solemn, his eyes burning as they found hers. He was the most beautiful thing Genevieve had ever seen. She walked down the short aisle, Isolde beside her in place of the father who had died years ago. When they reached the altar, Isolde placed Genevieve's hand in Killian's, squeezed both their fingers, and stepped back. Rowena came forward. She wore robes of deep green, the color of the oldest forests. In her hands, she carried a silver knife. Real silver, the metal that could kill wolves, being used in their most sacred ceremony. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. We gather in the old way, Rowena intoned, her voice carrying through the chapel. Before witnesses, before the land, before the moon herself. Killian Ravenswood, Alpha of the Northern Pack, Duke of these territories, do you come here of your own free will? I do. Killian's voice was steady, strong. Genevieve Hartwell, woman of human blood, with the wolf's line sleeping in her veins, do you come here of your own free will? I do. Genevieve was surprised her voice did not shake. Then speak your vows. Let the land hear. Let the magic bear witness. Killian turned to face Genevieve fully, took both her hands in his. Genevieve, 2 weeks ago you ran from a monster and found a wolf. You could have feared me, could have run from me too. But you stayed. You saw the man behind the beast. You pulled silver from my flesh. You sat beside me when I burned with fever. His thumbs traced circles on her palms. I vow to protect you, to honor you, to see you always the way you have seen me. I vow to stand beside you in darkness and light. I vow to be your partner, your equal, your friend. And I vow to love you fiercely and forever, until the stars fall from the sky and beyond. Genevieve's eyes burned. She blinked rapidly, trying to clear them. Killian, you saved me from a cage I did not know how to escape. You gave me shelter when I had nowhere to go. You showed me what it means to be part of something larger than myself. She squeezed his hands. I vow to stand with you, to fight beside you, to protect this pack as if they were my blood. I vow to be your Luna, your mate, your partner in all things. I vow to see you always for who you truly are, a good man, a worthy man, and I vow to love you with everything I am and everything I will become from this moment until my last breath and beyond. Rowena raised the silver knife. Blood to blood, life to life. The old magic binds what we join here tonight. She drew the blade across Killian's palm. He did not flinch. Blood welled dark against his skin, then across Genevieve's palm. The silver burned, but she held steady. Rowena guided their hands together palm to palm. Blood mingled, and the chapel, the stone itself, seemed to pulse. Once, twice, like a heartbeat. The land acknowledges the bond, Rowena said quietly. Now, the claiming bite. Let the magic be sealed. Killian's eyes found Genevieve's. This will hurt, he warned softly. Just for a moment. Then you will feel everything. The pack, the bond, me. It can be overwhelming. If you need to stop, I will not stop. Genevieve tilted her head, exposing the curve of her neck. I trust you. Killian's expression shattered, reformed into something so tender it took Genevieve's breath away. He cupped her face with his free hand, the one not joined to hers by blood. Leaned in, pressed his lips to her forehead, her cheek, the corner of her mouth. I love you, he whispered against her skin. My Genevieve, my Luna, my heart. Then he struck. His teeth lengthened into fangs, sank into the curve of her neck, where it met her shoulder. Pain flared sharp and bright. Genevieve gasped, her free hand flying up to grip Killian's shoulder. But the pain lasted only a heartbeat. Then it transformed. Heat. Golden, overwhelming heat that poured through her veins like liquid sunlight. She felt the bond snap into place, not the tentative connection they had shared before, but something infinitely stronger. Absolute. Unbreakable. And through it, she felt everything. Killian's love, fierce and protective and all-consuming. His fear that he would fail her. His determination to keep her safe. His wonder that she had chosen him, chosen this, chosen them. But more than that, she felt the pack. 300 heartbeats, 300 souls. Their hopes, their fears. The parents terrified for their children in the caves. The fighters on the walls grim and determined. Little Finn huddled in the deep shelters, clutching his wooden wolf and whispering prayers for his alpha. Mira, Dorian, the scouts, the healers, the farmers and blacksmiths and teachers and children. All of them, connected to her now through threads that pulsed with life. She was not alone, would never be alone again. The pack, her pack. Genevieve's eyes flew open. They burned not with tears but with light. Killian pulled back his fangs, retracting. Her blood stained his lips. The mark on her neck throbbed already, beginning to heal, but it would scar, would mark her forever as his, as Luna, as pack. Genevieve, his voice shook. Are you? She kissed him with everything she had, all her love, all her fear, all her desperate, fierce determination that they would survive this night, that they would build a life together, that their story would not end the way Isolde's had. When they broke apart, Rowena was smiling through tears. The bond is sealed. The magic is complete. Genevieve Ravenswood, Luna of the Northern Pack, the land has accepted you. What the old magic has joined, no force in this world can tear apart. The chapel erupted in howls. The wolves who had stood witness shifted partially or fully and sang their joy to the stone ceiling. The sound was wild and beautiful and utterly inhuman. Genevieve felt it in her chest, felt the urge to join them. And when she opened her mouth, a sound came out that was not quite a howl, but not quite human either. Her voice layered with something other, singing with the pack. Killian stared at her, wonder written across his face. Your wolf, he breathed. It is waking. I can feel it. Genevieve could feel it too. Something stirring inside her. The latent bloodline dormant for generations responding to the mate bond. She was not fully wolf, might never shift. But she was not fully human anymore either. She was something in between, something new. Luna. They had 5 minutes of peace, 5 minutes to leave the chapel, to accept the congratulations of the pack, to pretend that the world was not ending outside their walls. Then the warning bells began to scream. Dorian ran into the great hall, his face grim. Alpha, Luna. The title came naturally to him now. Matthias's army has arrived, 4,000 strong. They are setting up siege engines. We have maybe an hour before they attack. The joy drained from the room. Reality crashed back like a physical weight. Killian's hand found Genevieve's. Squeezed. Battle stations. Everyone to their positions. This is what we train for. Remember, we hold the walls. We protect the innocent in the caves. We do not let them break us. The pack scattered. Genevieve started to follow, but Killian pulled her back. No, he said. You go to the caves with the children and... Absolutely not. Genevieve's voice was steel. I am Luna now. The pack can feel me. If I hide in the caves while they fight, what does that tell them? That their Luna is a coward? That I only wanted the title but not the responsibility? Genevieve, you are not trained. You will be killed. Then train me, right now. In the next hour, she grabbed a knife from the weapons rack on the wall. Dorian has been teaching me I am not helpless, and I will not hide. Killian looked at her, at the determination in her eyes, at the way she held the knife inexpert but willing, at the bond between them burning bright and fierce. He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, they blazed. Dorian, arm the Luna. Leather armor, short sword, bow if she can use one. She fights on the inner walls, not the outer. If they breach, she falls back to the keep. Understood. Yes, Alpha. Dorian's scarred face split into a fierce grin. Come, Luna. Let us make you dangerous. The next hour was a blur of organized chaos. Dorian fitted Genevieve with boiled leather armor, lighter than metal but still protective, showed her how to strap the buckles tight, handed her a short sword that was perfectly balanced for her height and weight. You stab not, slash, he instructed rapidly. Aim for soft targets, throat, belly, under the arms. Do not try to be heroic. Stay alive. That is your only job. He positioned her on the second wall behind the main fighters, gave her a quiver of arrows and a simple bow. You said you hunted with your father as a child. Can you hit a target at 50 yards? Yes, maybe. Probably not anymore. But she would try. Good enough. Dorian gripped her shoulder. You honor us, Luna. By standing, by fighting. We will protect you with our lives. And I will protect you with mine, Genevieve said. Meant it. Dawn broke. The sky lightened from black to gray to the pale pink of early morning. And across the valley, spread out like a plague, Matthias Grimshaw's army assembled. 4,000 men, maybe more. Genevieve could see the siege engines. 3 massive trebuchets, dozens of siege ladders, and at the front, mounted on a white horse dressed in silver armor that caught the rising sun. Matthias. Even from a distance, Genevieve could feel his presence. The cold certainty of him. The absolute belief that he would win, that he deserved to win, that the world bent to his will because it always had. Beside her, Killian growled low in his chest. I should have killed him when I had the chance. You will have another chance, Genevieve said quietly, before this is over, and this time you will not hesitate. A horn blew across the valley. Matthias's army began to advance. Archers, Dorian roared from the outer wall. Ready. 50 wolves with longbows drew, waited. The army came closer, closer. 500 yards, 300, 200, loose. 50 arrows flew, found targets. Men screamed, fell, but 4,000 was too many. The army did not even slow. The trebuchets fired. Massive stones flew through the air, trailing smoke. They crashed into the outer wall. Stone exploded. Wolves scrambled back, avoiding the worst of it. 1, 2, 3 more volleys. The outer wall held, barely. Then the ladders came. Dozens of them. Slammed against the walls, soldiers began to climb. The wolves met them at the top. Swords flashed, blood sprayed. Men and wolves both fell tumbling from the walls to the ground far below. Genevieve forced herself to watch, forced herself not to look away. These people were dying for her, for Killian, for the pack. The least she could do was witness their sacrifice. Luna, a young wolf barely 18, thrust a bow into her hands. Soldier climbing the east ladder. Can you take him? Genevieve looked, saw the soldier halfway up, armor gleaming. She knocked an arrow. Drew. Her arms shook. She had not done this in years. The soldier climbed higher, 20 feet from the wall top. 15. Genevieve released. The arrow flew, caught the soldier in the shoulder. Not a killing shot, but he lost his grip, fell, crashed into the soldiers below him. 3 men went down. Good shot, Luna. The young wolf grinned. Again, and again, and again. Genevieve fired until her fingers bled, until her arms burned, until she stopped thinking and simply moved. Draw, aim, release, draw, aim, release. She did not keep count of how many she hit, did not want to know. The battle raged for 2 hours. The sun climbed higher. The outer wall began to crumble under the relentless assault of the trebuchets. Fall back, Killian roared. Second wall now. The wolves retreated in controlled chaos, dragged their wounded with them. The second wall was shorter but thicker. Built into the mountainside itself, harder to breach. Matthias's army poured through the broken outer wall, filled the courtyard. So many of them. Too many. A trebuchet fired. The stone crashed into the second wall 10 feet from Genevieve. The impact threw her off her feet. She hit the stone walkway hard, stars exploding across her vision. Strong hands grabbed her. Killian. He pulled her upright, his eyes wild. Are you hurt? No, I am fine. Right. Genevieve looked at him, saw the army massing for another assault, saw the siege ladders being repositioned, saw Matthias still on his white horse directing his troops like pieces on a game board. This was not a battle. This was a slaughter. They could not win. The realization hit her like ice water. They could not win. Matthias had too many soldiers, too many weapons. The wolves were fierce, but they were outnumbered 15-1. Eventually they would be overwhelmed, and then everyone would die. The fighters, the families in the pos, little Finn with his wooden wolf, Mira with her kind smile, Dorian with his hard-won grin, all of them. Unless. Killian, Genevieve grabbed his arm. The contract. Did it burn? When we made it, did the Cornwall contract burn? Killian blinked. I do not know. We went straight into battle. I did not. He turned. Rowena. The physician appeared blood-stained and grim. What? The contract. Matthias's blood contract for Cornwall. Did the mating bond break it? Rowena's eyes widened. I do not know. We need to check. If it burned, if the magic rejected Matthias's claim, then his financiers. She did not finish. Did not need to. If the contract burned, Matthias had nothing. No silver, no funding, no reason for his mercenary army to keep fighting. I will go, Genevieve said. The contract would be with Matthias, in his camp. I can. Absolutely not, Killian snarled. You are not going anywhere near him. He wants me alive. Genevieve grabbed Killian's face, forced him to look at her. He needs my blood for the ritual. He will not kill me, not yet. But if I can get close enough to see the contract to confirm it burned, then we know. We know if we have a chance. This is insane. You will be captured, tortured, killed. Or I will save us all. Genevieve's voice was steady, certain. The Luna bond thrummed in her chest, connecting her to 300 souls who were dying because Matthias Grimshaw wanted power. I am not asking permission, Killian. I am telling you what I am going to do. You can help me, or you can watch me go alone. Choose. Killian stared at her. She felt his terror through the bond, his fury, his helplessness, and underneath it all, his pride, his love, his absolute certainty that she would do this, that she was brave enough and strong enough and fierce enough to walk into the lion's den. I hate that you are right, he whispered. You love me, Genevieve said, and that is why you will let me go, because you trust me, because we are partners, because you know I can do this. She turned before he could argue more, stripped off her armor, her sword, kept only her dress simple and white stained now with blood and smoke and battle. I am going out there, she called to Dorian. Lower me down. Put me in front of the walls. Let Matthias see me. Dorian looked at Killian. Killian's jaw clenched so hard the muscle jumped nodded once. They lowered Genevieve on a rope. Her feet touched the blood-soaked ground. The courtyard fell silent. 4,000 soldiers stared at her, and across the space Matthias Grimshaw smiled. Genevieve, his voice carried smooth as silk. How lovely to see you. I have been so worried. You ran from our wedding. How terribly rude. Genevieve walked forward, kept her chin high, her hands steady. I have come to negotiate. Matthias laughed, actually laughed. You have nothing to negotiate with, my dear. You are surrounded. Your wolves are dying. In another hour I will breach those walls and take you by force. Why would I negotiate? Because the Cornwall contract is void. Genevieve said it with absolute confidence, praying she was right. I mated the Alpha. The land belongs to the Luna now. Your blood magic means nothing. Your financiers will withdraw their support the moment they realize you have no claim to the silver. Your mercenary army will desert. You have already lost Matthias. You just do not know it yet. Matthias's smile froze. For 1 second, uncertainty flickered across his face. Then he reached into his saddlebag, pulled out a rolled parchment. The contract. He unrolled it, looked at it. His face went white as bone. The parchment was blank. Every rune, every magical signature, every carefully crafted clause. Gone. Burned away, leaving nothing but clean paper. Matthias stared at it, then at Genevieve. No, he whispered. No, I had you. You were mine. The contract is broken. Genevieve let Luna power bleed into her eyes. Let the army see. I am Luna of Ravenswood now. The Cornwall Caverns belong to my pack. You have nothing, Matthias. Walk away, take your soldiers, and go. Or stay and watch them desert you when they realize you cannot pay them. Matthias's face contorted. Rage replaced shock. Kill her, someone! Kill her now! But the soldiers did not move. They looked at each other, at their captains. Muttering spread through the ranks. One captain stepped forward, removed his helmet. My lord, if the contract is void, then we were promised payment from the silver mines. If there is no silver, I will find the money, Matthias screamed. I will pay you, just kill them all. The captain shook his head slowly. No, my lord, we do not fight for free, and we do not slaughter women and children for a lost cause. He turned to his men. Stand down, withdraw to camp. 3,000 soldiers, maybe more, lowered their weapons, began to retreat. Matthias sat on his horse surrounded by abandoning men staring at Genevieve with such hatred it should have burned her to ash. You, he whispered, you destroyed everything, everything. He drew his sword, silver blade gleaming in the morning light, spurred his horse, charged directly at Genevieve. She did not run, did not flinch, just stood there waiting. Killian's roar shook the mountains. He shifted mid-leap from the wall, his lichen form massive and terrifying. He hit the ground running, closed the distance in seconds, slammed into Matthias's horse from the side. The animal screamed, went down. Matthias flew from the saddle, hit the ground hard. Killian stood over him, 9 feet of fur and muscle and claws, dripping blood from a dozen wounds. His eyes burned like stars. Matthias scrambled backward. Please, I did not mean. Killian grabbed him by the throat, lifted him off the ground one-handed. Matthias choked, clawed uselessly at Killian's wrist. Killian, Genevieve's voice cut through the rage. Do not. Killian's head swiveled toward her. His grip on Matthias's throat tightened. Do not kill him, Genevieve said steadily. She walked forward, stopped 10 feet away. Not like this, not in rage. Because if you kill him now, you prove him right. You become the monster he always said you were. Killian's lip curled, revealed fangs that could tear a man in half, but he did not strike. He deserves death, Killian growled. The voice was layered, bestial, barely human. Yes, Genevieve agreed. He does, but not from you, and not now. We are better than him, Killian. We are better than this. Slowly, so slowly, Killian lowered Matthias to the ground. Did not release him, just held him there, claws dimpling the flesh of his throat, a reminder of how easily he could kill. Genevieve stepped closer, looked down at Matthias Grimshaw, the man who had murdered her parents, who had tried to force her into slavery, who had funded the deaths of hundreds. He looked small now, pathetic, a bully stripped of his power. You will stand trial, Genevieve said coldly. Public trial. Every person you have hurt will speak. Every crime will be laid bare. And then we will decide your fate. Not you, not your money, not your title. Justice. Real justice. Matthias spat blood. You think you have won? You think this is over? I have allies, resources. I will come back. I will destroy you. You will shut your mouth, Dorian said, appearing with iron chains. Silver-lined. Before I shut it for you. They chained Matthias, dragged him away. He screamed threats the whole way, promised vengeance, swore he would escape. No one listened. The remaining soldiers, the ones who had not deserted, laid down their weapons, surrendered. They were disarmed and marched away under guard. The battle was over. Ravenswood had won. Genevieve stood in the courtyard as the sun climbed higher. Around her, wolves shifted back to human, began the grim work of tending the wounded, gathering the dead. Killian shifted back, stood beside her naked and bloody and exhausted. We won, he said quietly. Yes, Genevieve took his hand, and now we make sure their deaths meant something. Little Finn appeared from the caves running at full speed. He crashed into Genevieve's legs, sobbing. Luna, I was so scared. I thought, Genevieve knelt, gathered the boy into her arms. I am here, I am safe, we all are. Finn clung to her, and one by one other pack members approached, touched her shoulder, her hand, her hair, seeking comfort, offering it, acknowledging what she had done, the risk she had taken, the role she had claimed. Luna, not just a title, a responsibility, a bond, a family. Genevieve held them all and let herself be held in return. The public trial took place 5 days later. 5 days to tend the wounded, to bury the dead with honor, to send the surrendered soldiers home, stripped of weapons and silver with orders never to return, to begin repairs on the shattered walls, and to prepare justice for Matthias Grimshaw. The courtyard was packed, 800 people, wolves from every corner of the territory, humans who had been enslaved at Cornwall, refugees who had fled Matthias's cruelty years before. All of them came to witness. Genevieve sat beside Killian on a simple wooden platform. No throne, no elaborate display, just 2 chairs and the weight of responsibility. Matthias knelt before them, still in chains. His fine clothes were gone. He wore prisoner's rags. His face was bruised from where the guards had subdued him after he tried to escape twice. Rowena stood as prosecutor. Read the charges in a clear, steady voice. Matthias Grimshaw, you stand accused of the following crimes: the murder of Lord Edmund Hartwell through poison 8 years past, the murder of Lady Cassandra Hartwell through poison 18 months past, the enslavement of 200 individuals at Cornwall Keep, the funding of 23 Inquisition raids resulting in 312 deaths, the attempted forced marriage of Genevieve Hartwell, the assault on Ravenswood Keep resulting in 47 deaths. The list went on and on. 20 minutes of crimes read aloud, each one documented, verified, witnessed. When Rowena finished, the courtyard was silent. How do you plead? Killian asked. Matthias lifted his head. His eyes burned with unrepentant hatred. I plead that I am human and you are beasts. Human law does not recognize. You are in wolf territory, Genevieve cut him off. Northern law applies, and Northern law is clear. Those who harm innocents forfeit their right to mercy. Answer the question. How do you plead? Matthias's jaw clenched. Not guilty. I did what any rational man would do. Protected human interests from liar, a voice from the crowd. A woman stepped forward. Older, worn. I am Margaret Thorne. My husband was Lord Edmund's steward. I watched you pour poison into his wine. I was too afraid to speak then. But I will speak now. You murdered him. I saw it. Another voice. I am David Fletcher. You enslaved my sister at Cornwall. She was 16. She died in the mines. I have her body. I have proof. More voices, more witnesses, a flood of testimony that could not be denied, could not be dismissed. Matthias's face went from defiant to pale to gray. When the last witness finished, Genevieve stood. Matthias Grimshaw, you have been found guilty by the testimony of your victims. The evidence is overwhelming. The proof is irrefutable. The only question that remains is, what do we do with you? The crowd murmured. Some called for death, hanging, beheading, fire. Genevieve raised her hand. Silence fell. Death is easy, she said quietly. Death is what you deserve. But it is also mercy, and you have shown no mercy to anyone. So you will receive none from us. She took a breath. You are hereby stripped of all titles and lands. Your estates will be sold. The money will go to your victims, to rebuild what you destroyed, to feed the families you orphaned. You will spend the next 25 years in the Blackstone quarries. Hard labor, no servants, no comforts. You will work alongside the men you once called beneath you. And during that time, you will attend weekly counseling with physician Rowena. Matthias stared at her. Counseling to address the roots of your cruelty, Genevieve said evenly. Your father beat you. We know this. Records show it. You learned that power means violence, that strength means cruelty. You will unlearn those lessons. And if at the end of 25 years you show true remorse, true change, you may earn a pardon. If not, she let the silence speak. Matthias opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time since Genevieve had met him, he had no words. Take him away, Killian ordered. Guards dragged Matthias to his feet. He looked back at Genevieve one last time. His expression was complicated, not hatred anymore. Something else, confusion, maybe even the first faint stirrings of shame. Why? He asked hoarsely. Why not just kill me? Genevieve met his eyes. Because killing you would make me like you, and I refuse to become what you are. I refuse to let hate win. Matthias was led away. The crowd erupted in cheers. Justice had been served, not through violence, through truth, through the voices of the victims, through the choice to be better. Genevieve sank back into her chair. Exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. It was done, truly done. Killian's hand found hers, squeezed. What happens now? Now, Killian pulled her to her feet. Now we rebuild. We heal. We live. 5 years later, Genevieve Ravenswood sat in the gardens of Ravenswood Keep watching her children play. Edmund, 4 years old, chased his sister Cassandra, 2 years old, through the flower beds. Both of them shrieked with laughter. Both of them had their father's amber eyes and their mother's stubborn chin. Baby as old as 6 months old slept in Genevieve's arms. Named for the Luna who had died so others could live. A legacy honored. Continued. The gardens had been Genevieve's project. 5 years of work. She had transformed the rocky barren courtyard into something beautiful. Roses and lavender and moonflowers. Fruit trees. A vegetable garden tended by the children of the Pack School. 300 students now. Human and wolf both. Learning together. Playing together. Building the future. Beyond the gardens, the keep had been rebuilt. Stronger than before. The outer walls reinforced. The inner walls expanded to accommodate the growing pack. 800 souls now called Ravenswood home. Refugees from across the territories. People who had nowhere else to go. All of them welcomed. All of them protected. Cornwall Caverns had been transformed into a healing center. 600 survivors of trauma, abuse, and slavery received care there. Therapy, education, job training, a chance to rebuild their lives. The silver veins had been sealed permanently. No mining, no weapons, just healing. Genevieve looked up as Killian approached. He walked without a cane now. The silver wounds had healed completely, though they had taken years. He was strong again, whole again. He sat beside her, kissed her temple, touched their sleeping daughter's downy hair with gentle reverence. "A letter came," he said quietly, "from Blackstone Quarries." Genevieve's heart kicked. "Matthias." "Yes." Killian handed her the letter. Genevieve read it with one hand, the other still cradling Isolde. "Lady Genevieve, I do not ask for forgiveness. I will never deserve it. But I wanted you to know. In 5 years, I have taught 60 boys to read. 7 have chosen paths of healing instead of violence. 3 have become teachers. 1 is training to be a physician. Rowena says I am making progress. I do not know if that is true. Some days the old anger comes back, the urge to hurt, to control. But I am learning, slowly, painfully. Your daughter, Cassandra. I heard she was born healthy. I heard she laughs often. I am glad. May she never know the darkness I inflicted on this world. I heard about little Isolde too, named for the Luna who died protecting her pack. That is appropriate, beautiful even. I do not know if I will earn pardon. I do not know if I deserve to. But I will keep trying, keep learning. Because you gave me a choice. You could have killed me. Instead, you gave me a chance to be better. I am trying not to waste it. Matthias Grimshaw, quarry worker, number 217. Genevieve folded the letter carefully, set it aside. He is changing, slowly, but changing. Do you regret it? Killian asked. Sparing him, Genevieve looked at her children. At Edmund teaching Cassandra how to identify wolf tracks in the dirt. At baby Isolde sleeping peacefully in her arms. At the gardens blooming all around them. At the keep strong and safe and full of life. No, she said firmly. Killing him would have been easy, but it would not have broken the cycle. She gestured to everything around them. This is how we break cycles. By choosing mercy. By choosing to build instead of destroy. By teaching our children that strength is not violence. That strength is compassion. Killian pulled her close. She leaned against him, their daughter between them, their other children playing nearby. A family, hard-won and fiercely protected. I love you, Killian murmured. My Luna, my heart, my everything. I love you, Genevieve whispered back. My alpha, my partner, my home. And there in the gardens of Ravenswood Keep, surrounded by the family they had built and the pack they had saved, they sat in the sunshine and watched the future grow. A future built not on blood and vengeance, but on hope and healing and love. A legacy that would endure for generations. The legacy of the Luna who had run from a monster and found a family, who had chosen courage over fear, who had built a kingdom not through conquest, but through compassion. Genevieve Ravenswood, Luna, mother, protector, and the woman who had proved that sometimes the truest strength is knowing when not to fight, but when to forgive.